other threat. There's one other threat out there that's very, very real to what's going on here, to all of our industries, and that's the EPA. Now, I will tell you that we really dodged the bullet on October the 1st. Because the EPA, when they took comments up until through March of last year, I think, they were thinking about lowering the new ozone standards down as far as 65 or 60. Now, let me show you what would have happened if they had lowered it to 65. All of South Louisiana would have been out of compliance. Okay? And all up here in Shreveport, all that area in Shreveport would have been out of compliance, which basically means you couldn't have any industrial expansion, okay, without buying credits from somebody else which nobody else wants to sell. And so we'd have a real serious problem on our hands. The good news, they didn't go down to 65, they went down to 70. And to kind of give you an idea of what, you can't read this very well, but these are the different monitoring stations in Louisiana, okay? There is only one monitoring station in Louisiana that is out of compliance with a 70 level, and that is at LSU. We need to quit feeding that tiger that bean, or I don't know what's going on. Actually, this lady told me, said, if we could just get the stupid buses to quit parking right next to our monitor. But the good news, I mean, you look at your area. Let's see, you have a monitor at Westlake, no problem. Let's say you have a monitor that you come over here a little bit further, Carlos, no problem. Okay? I mean, basically, you're in good shape here under these new ozone standards. So that's really good. I think everybody breathed a great sigh of relief when this came out. Now, we haven't breathed a great sigh of relief over this yet. And that's the EPA's proposed clean power plan. The President wants to reduce carbon emissions in power plants to 38% by 2022, 42% by 2030. Now, this is being rigorously challenged in the courts by all the states. And let me kind of show you what's going on here. The EPA says, and the President has said, the EPA has said, what they want to do is they want to cause 40% of the coal-fired power plants in the United States to disappear. Now, you're grown-ups. What do you think the probability is if you get rid of 40% of the coal-fired power plants in the United States, you're not going to have a brownout problem? Ever. And this is what, initially when this came out, it was said, what we can do is we can substitute natural gas for that. They said, no, this has to be substituted with wind and solar. Now, if you've studied wind and solar at all, you ought to study wind and solar at all. You just need to understand that industry very carefully. This is going to be, you have no idea the amount of land in the United States is going to have to be scalped to put these windmills up. You have no idea the number of birds are going to get killed. You have no idea that. It's a huge number. Now, for this, consumer electricity rates in 43 states will go up by double digit. And our wonderful benefits from this plan, it will reduce carbon concentrations by 0.5%. It will lower global temperatures by 2/100ths of a degree. Energy Venture Analysis has said that Louisiana industrial electricity rates will go up 48%. Well, I mean, if you're a chemical plant or you're trying to decide where do I locate, especially if that gap starts narrowing, you say I can either locate in Louisiana or, Texas, Southeast Texas, or I can go to China. I can go someplace where utility rates are nothing like this. Electrical power is a major input into these projects. So this is a threat out there that, we're going to have to see how well it holds up in the courts. Now, with all that in mind, here's what our forecast is for the Lake Charles economy. Look what you've done lately. I mean, look at these numbers. By the way, in 2015, you passed 100,000 employees, people employed in this area for the very first time in your history. And look, the distance between these dots, I mean, that's really, really terrific performance. We have you, and by the way, we have you for the next 2 years adding 9,400 jobs. Now, you'll notice that we have a drop-off here in 2017 of 7,400, then down to 2,000. The primary reason we have that in there is because some of these projects that are underway will be finished up by 2017. So we expect to see a little bit of a drop, except this is all based just on the projects that have gone vertical. If you have some of these projects that have not gone vertical yet, that are at the feed stage, that say we're going to pull the trigger, then our forecast is going to be blown straight out of the water. At least it would be way too conservative forecast. What this says is we expect your employment to grow by 8.9% over the next 2 years. As you'll see in a minute, we have the state growing 1.8% over 2 years. We have 40% of the job growth over the next 2 years coming from here. And that's without these other projects coming online. As you look at the state as a whole, we have the state breaking through the 2 million barrier for the first time. This is non-farm jobs. As you can see, the growth rate much smaller than y'all's. About 0.8% here, 1% here. The primary reason for that is where I'm going tomorrow. You know, the oil patch is really stinking right now. They're losing jobs, absolutely. New Orleans is losing jobs, absolutely. And we suspect that this will continue on into 2016 before you start to see some recovery in those areas. So that's kind of the picture here. Normally, are we okay for some quick Q&A? Is that okay? Yeah. All right, quick Q&A, then I have one more last comment to make. Okay?